Good day everyone. So I will continue reporting the topic of previous discussant, Miss Edlin Mitales. So her topic is all about why K to 12 curriculum. So the number one reason was already discussed by her. So I will continue the remaining reason why K to 12 curriculum implemented. So number 2, the Philippines is the only remaining country in Asia with a 10-year basic education. So the short duration of the basic education program also puts millions of overseas Filipino workers, especially the professionals and those who intend to study abroad, at a disadvantage. Graduates of Philippine schools are not automatically recognized as professionals outside the country due to the lack of 2 years in basic education. So, Bologna Accord imposes 12 years of education for university admission and practice of profession in European countries. So, si Washington Accord naman prescribes 12 years basic education as an entry to recognition of engineering professional. So, dito, sinasabi lang po na ang pangalawang reason kung bakit kailangan nating i-implement ang K-12 is ang Philippines ay isa sa natitirang bansa sa Asian countries na I think 3 lang yung bansang yun na tayo lang yung wala pang K-12 education curriculum. So, sinasabi lang dito na yung ibang nakapagtapos dati sa atin ng baccalaureate degrees or any kind of degree is pag pumunta sa abroad, hindi qualified yung natapos nila. So, ibig sabihin yung iba nag-a-abroad, hindi ganon, hindi profession yung trabaho na pinapasukan nila. So, yung iba nagiging OFW, DH lang ang trabaho nila. Yung hindi talagang natapos nila yung nagiging trabaho nila. So, sabi nga dito, as a teacher or as a future teacher, we should be familiar with what is happening and will happen in our curriculum. So, ibig sabihin, we need to be aware, informed kung bakit nga ba kailangan nating malaman kung ano yung ini-implement na curriculum sa during sa ating teaching profession. So, we need to be informed and aware kung bakit nga ba ito isinasagawa or pinatutupad. So, from the previous discussion, she talks about the standard of 12-year basic education na nagko-contribute nga sa better educated society. And sabi nga, yung mga graduate ng grade 2, K-12 is inaasahan na magkaroon capable of pursuing productive employment. So, ibig sabihin, pag graduate ka ng K-12, inaasahan ka ng pwede ka nang magtrabaho pagka-graduate mo ng grade 12. So, pangalawa, entrepreneurship. Ibig sabihin, pwede ka nang mag-business. May kaalaman ka na sa business industry. Meron ka ng konting kaalaman. So, pwede ka nang pumasok ng kung anong gusto mong maging business pagka-graduate mo ng grade 12. So, the third is higher education studies. So, sabi nga, yung pag-graduate ka ng grade 12, yun talaga yung taon. 12 years talaga yung taon na para sa maturity, para pag nag-college ka is ready ka na. sabi ng mga ibang researchers na talagang 12 years talaga yung kailangan nating bunuin bago tayo pumunta sa college level. So, the 10 years, sabi nung ibang mga mananaliksik, 10 years would not be enough to master the competencies. So, yung sa dati nating basic education, which is 10 years lang yung 1 year sa kindergarten. So, hindi pa nga compulsory yung kindergarten pwedeng mag-start na yung bata agad grade 1 dati. Kaya sinasabing 10 years basic education, 6 years sa elementary, then 4 years sa high school. So, sabi dito, yung 10 years nga is not enough para ma-attain natin yung dapat ma-attain ng isang estudyante. So, adding 2 years would make possible the decongestion of the curriculum for comprehensive acquisition of basic competencies and the 21st century skills. So, alam naman natin na this 21st century time is parang naiba na rin yung 21st yung skills na dapat nating ma-attain as a student. So, yun nga, siguro it affects the education affects more by our the advancement of technology. Kaya siguro rin na iba yung skills na hinihingi ng 21st century. So, in this last paragraph, sabi with K-12 Filipino professional would have the same competitive edge with professionals in other countries having gone through 12 years of basic education. So, it means nga na kaya nga in-implement dito yung sa Philippines yung K-12 is parang balance, kumbaga pantay yung taon na pinag-aralan ng ibang bansa sa kung ano rin yung curriculum na meron sa ating bansa. So, hindi na tayo ganun qualified na tayo pagdating natin sa ibang bansa kung gusto natin doon magtrabaho. Qualified na kung sakasakali yung matatapos natin. So, ibig sabihin, pantay na yung pagtingin sa atin ng ibang bansa, hindi na ganun kababa. Kasi nga, dati nga 10 years lang yung natapos natin. So, dito sa slide na to, in example lang si Bologna Accord, then si Washington Accord na pumunta pa nga sa ibang bansa para sa pag-aaral ng 12 years. Binuno nila yung ika-12 years last 2 years sa ibang bansa dahil nga sa tingin siguro nila ni Bologna and then si Washington is iba talaga yung standard nang tapos ka ng 12 years basic education than sa 10 years basic education. So, yun. An example lang dito yung two individuals na si Bologna Accord then si Washington Accord. Then next. So, sabi dito, by the way, the recommendation to improve and to lessen the short basic education in the Philippines has been given since 1925 as one of the most well-studied reforms. Recommendations of either adding or restoring 7th grade or adding an extra year to basic education have been put forward. So, since 1925 pa pala, nagkaroon ng iba't ibang suggestions, recommendation tungkol sa pagsulong ng pagpapahaba ng short basic education. So, noon pa pala na pag-uusapan yung pagpapahaba ng short basic education. Hindi lang pala neto lang. Noon pa palang since 1925 pa. At maraming recommendation and reforms daw ang ang nabuo sa pagdadagdag na 7th grade or yung grade 7 o di kaya yung iba pang taon na gusto nilang idagdag sa basic education natin dito sa Pilipinas. So may table dito na i-present na kung saan may iba't iba ring researchers na nagbigay ng kanilang recommendation about sa lengthening of the short basic education. So, let's study how the lengthening of short basic education given finally to us. Yan, ngayon nga, K-12 na tayo. So alamin natin kung paano nga ba, ano nga ba yung naging recommendation bago natin ma-attain ang K-12 curriculum. So, let's start. So, yan. So, Table 5, ito na nga yung sinasabing Table 5 kanina, na researchers on Philippine Basic Education Curriculum and their recommendation. So, dito sa first column, andito yung mga year. Kung kailan sila nagbigay ng mga recommendation. Tapos dito sa source, yung mga responsible individual na may kinalaman sa recommendation na binigay nila. Then, sa last column is yung mismong recommendation na. So, sa first year, which is sabi ko nga kanina, since 1925 pa pala napag-uusapan yung papapahaba na basic education natin dito sa Pilipinas. So, si Monroe Survey ang nagbigay ng recommendation na training of graduate student in agriculture, commerce, and industry because secondary education did not prepare students for life. So, meaning to say, si Monroe Survey is nagbigay ng rekomendasyon na magkaroon daw ng training yung mga graduate ng may kursong agriculture, commerce, and industry. Dahil sa palagay daw nga niya, yung high school level natin is hindi ganong pine-prepare yung students sa kung ano ba yung tatahakin nila in the future. Kumbaga, for example, tayo education. As I experience, kwento ko lang po as my experience with old curriculum kasi po returnee ako and nag-aral po ulit ako ngayon nga po na iba na yung curriculum, yung curriculum na tayo which is K-12 nga po. Nasasabi ko po talaga na iba yung content ng old curriculum sa curriculum ngayon. So, yung curriculum kasi ngayon is parang practice na po kung paano natin gagawin yung kurso na kung saan yung kurso natin, halimbawa tayo education, so teacher tayo. Ang talagang tatahakin natin in the future is pagtuturo. This curriculum, K-12 curriculum, parang tinetrain na tayo as in magturo compared to old curriculum na puro subjects pa rin yung parang continuous topic pa rin about dun sa pinag-aralan ng high school. Parang prerequisite po ba? Prerequisite lang nung high school na mga subjects yung old curriculum na content dati. So, for example po, dati kasi po meron topic na biology sa old curriculum. So, ngayon, walang biology sa new curriculum natin, which is K-12, pero meron tayong teaching science na which is dinidiscuss, pinag-uusapan kung paano namin ituro yung science na about din sa biology. Pero elementary students po yung aming mga topic na pinag-aaralan kung paano namin ituro na. So, para dito kay Monroe Survey, Iyon parang yung sinasabi niya na secondary education did not prepare students for life. Parang, yun nga, puro content lang ng subject. Walang application kung paano. Halimbawa, engineer. So, hindi ganun ka standardize yung yung kung paano ba i-apply talaga o kung paano ba gawa ng action yung kinukuha nilang kurso. So, yun nga po. So, next, the 1949 source, UNESCO Mission Survey. So, sabi dito, restoration of grade 7 in primary education. So, itong table na to, parang nga pong binibigyan ng focus lang is yung pagbabalik ng grade 7, yung pagtatanggal, pagbabalik, pagtatanggal. So, parang paulit-ulit lang palang nagkaroon ng grade 7, tapos inaalis nila, tapos ibinabalik nila. Katulad po dito sa 1949, restoration of grade 7 in primary education. So, then, pagdating sa 1953, nirevise the primary school system by adding 1 grade 7. So, dito sa 1953, parang lang siya, parang binago lang yung system ng primary school sa, yun nga, by adding 1 year pa rin. So, yun, parang pabalik-balik lang, tas binabago nila, tas inaalis nila. So, pagdating naman po sa 1960, ni-restore ulit yung grade 7 in primary education. So, yun nga, 1970, PCSPE. So, sabi dito, recommendation nila is extending secondary education by 1 year to better prepare students who have no plans to take up university education. So, ibig sabihin po dito, itong recommendation ni PCSPE, by the way po, ang PCSPE po is may meaning na Presidential Commission to Survey Philippine Education. So, ibig sabihin, sila yung responsible na mag-survey sa edukasyon ng Pilipinas. So, yun nga, ni-recommend po nila na pahabain yung secondary education. So, sa pamamagitan nga po daw ng sabi dito, pagdadagdag ng 1 taon para ma-prepare yung students natin na walang plano. Yung walang planong mag-college. So, ibig sabihin nga po, binibigyan din dito yung mga estudyante na walang balak mag-college. So, yun. Parang gusto nilang magkaroon ng extending 1 year para nga po sa kanila. So, next. So, next is the 1991. The source is Educ107 Report. So, sabi ni Educ107 Report, ang recommendation po nila is retaining the 10-year basic education phase while institutionalizing career counseling in primary and secondary schools in preparation for higher education. So, yan. Retaining means pagpapanatili po ng 10 taon. So, ibinalik na naman yung 1991, ibinalik na naman yung 10-year basic education. So, yung mga idinagdag nila is nawala na naman din, binalik ulit yung 10-year basic education. As we observe, pabalik-balik lang pala yung mga recommendation nila. Kumbaga, yung iba't ibang individual nagsasuggest, nagre-recommend na ganito ang gawin, ganyan ang gawin. So, yun. 1998, source, Philippines Education Sector Study or the World Bank and the ADP. Ang recommendation nila is prioritizing student learning through curricular reforms, the provision of textbooks, the use of the vernacular in lower primary grades and the institution of a longer basic education cycle. So, when we say po curricular reforms, it means the process of making changes to the curriculum with the intent of making learning and teaching more meaningful and effective. So, sila po yung responsible sa pagbabago ng curriculum natin. At yung pagbabago pong iyon ay kumbaga para din naman sa positive na gusto nating mangyari about sa curriculum para nga daw po magkaroon ng learning and making the learning and teaching more meaningful and effective para po sa ating lahat. So, the use of the vernacular in lower primary grades. So, ibig sabihin po, when we say vernacular, ito yung paggamit ng mga katutubong wika. So, noong 1998 pala yun, nagkaroon na ng recommendation about sa paggamit ng vernacular in lower primary grades. So, ibig sabihin yung lower primary grades, I think po yun yung grade 1 to 3. Yun, grade 1 to 3. So, napag-usapan na pala, nagkaroon na ng recommendation about doon. So, I think po this vernacular is, ngayon po sa atin is the mother tongue po. The mother tongue, di ba yung elementary po natin is may subject na ngayon na mother tongue. So, nung 2000 naman po, we have here the PCER, the source, and their recommendation is all about implementing a compulsory 1-year pre-baccalaureate stage as prerequisite for student interested in enrolling in higher education degree program. So, meaning to say, compulsory. So, sa pilitan po na nagkaroon pala na gusto nilang magkaroon ng 1 year, ng 1 taon sa pre-baccalaureate. So, it means pre-baccalaureate, siguro po yung pag-graduate ng high school ng mga bata, pagkatapos nila ng basic education natin, yung 10-year basic education. So, parang gusto nila magkaroon ng 1 year yung mga bata para sa, yun daw is yung prerequisite ng mga bata na gustong, yung interesadong high education degree or mag-college. So, yun, gusto nila magkaroon ng 1 year extend before mag-college yung mga bata. So, noong 2006 naman po, the source is Philippine EFA 2015 National Action Plans. So, their recommendation is all about lengthening the education cycle by adding 2 years to formal basic education, 1 each of primary and high school. So, meaning to say, yun na nga po, yung recommendation nila is mapahaba rin yung educational cycle. Sila naman, yung recommendation nila ay yung pagdagdag ng 2 taon sa formal basic education. So, yung 2 taon daw pong yun is idadagdag sa primary grade, which is elementary, and then sa high school. So, tig-isang taon pala yung idadagdag sa elementary and high school. Yun ang gustong mangyari ng Philippine EFA 2015 National Action Plan. Then, the last is the 2008. The source is Presidential Task Force on Education. So, their recommendation is extending fair university education to a total of 12 years, benchmarking the content of 11 and 12 years with international programs. So, ayun na nga po. So, nagkaroon na dito na yung recommendation nila is all about na nga po sa grade 11 and 12. Sa K-12 na nga po. Yun ang gusto nila. Yun ang suggestion last 2008 recommendation ng Presidential Task Force on Education. So, yun. Yun yung mga different suggestions or recommendation po ng iba't ibang personnel. So, next The next is one frequently asked questions raised during the advocacy period for the K-12 curriculum was this. Sabi nila, Filipino students can do in 10 years what student in foreign country do it 12 years. So, yun. Sari-saring kuro yung lumitaw noong yung pagsasatupad nga po ng K-12. So, ibig sabihin, ang daming nag-comments about sa curriculum natin na sabi nung iba, kung ano daw yung natapos daw ng ibang bansa sa 12 years, siguro naman daw po, ganun din naman po yung pag-aaralan ng 10 years dito sa Pilipinas. So, para yung iba siguro nahahabaan sa taon na bubunuin ng mga estudyante. From 10 years nga naman po to 12 years. So, ang daming kuro-kuro na lumitaw. So, a number of our Filipino graduates who went through 10 years of basic education excel in studies as well as in their place of work abroad. So, why add 2 years? So, nagtatanong sila na yung mga ibang Filipino graduates nga po na nakapagtapos ng 10 years sa basic education natin dito sa Pilipinas ay nagiging excel satisfactory sa ibang bansa when we say halimbawa po sa kanilang pagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. So nagkakaroon naman daw po ng positive record, kumbaga nagkakaroon ng excellency yung iba nating graduate ng 10 years pag nagtrabaho sa Pilipinas. So, bakit pa ba, sabi ng iba, bakit pa ba gusto nating dagdagan yung taon ng pag-aaral dito sa Pilipinas? So, yun. This may be true. Sabi, but for as long as the international standard in 12 years of basic education that will remain to be standard and will apply to all including brilliant and exceptional students and graduates. So, sabi ng iba, marahil nga daw, tama nga daw po yung sinasabi nila na bakit pa kailangan nating habaan yung taon ng pag-aaral? Ba't pa kailangan baguhin yung curriculum na dapat maging K-12? Marahil tama nga daw po yun. Pero, ang sinasabi po dito is yung international standard natin. Kasi nga po, yung ibang bansa is 12 years na, K-12 na yung curriculum na ginagamit. Tapos pagdating dito sa atin is 10 years pa rin. So, parang dito, para maging patas or maging equal yung standard na meron ang ibang bansa, kailangan nating mag-adjust din syempre as Filipino, as a good citizen of our country. Kailangan nating mag-adjust din kasi kalimitan nga po sa Filipino is nagwo-work abroad. So, pagdating nila doon, nako-question kung bakit 10 years lang yung napag-aralan nila here in the Philippines. Samantalang yung nakatira doon sa pupuntahan nilang bansa is 12 years yung mga natapos. So, to be equal po, kailangan natin talaga mag-adjust, i-adapt yung K-12 curriculum. Yun. And the last paragraph is, in fact, there are cases where our Filipino scholar with master's degrees who have to enroll in additional master's subject before being allowed to pursue their doctorate degrees applied for. So, ang sabi dito, merong iba nga daw na Pilipino na scholar na gustong na merong natapos na master's degree na nag-enroll pa ng master's subject before allowed to pursue their doctorate. So, ibig sabihin, meron pang mga Pilipino na halimbawa nakapagtapos na tayo baccalaureate degree, yung 4 years courses. Meron pa nga pong Pilipino na gustong magmasteral, mag-doctorate. May mga ganong Pilipino pa rin. So, parang sinasabi dito, hindi na rin, yung iba, hindi na rin mahihirapang i-adapt yung K-12 curriculum. So, next. So, the last slide that I will report is this. Why the additional major subject? So, hindi pa pala last slide. May 33. Number 33 pa rin. So, why the additional major subject? The reason given in the short 10-year basic education in the Philippines. So, in other words, the Philippines has no choice but to comply with the 12-year basic education. In the first place, this has been a consistent recommendation of past surveys done on the Philippine educational system. So, yun, wala nga daw po tayong choice kundi i-comply yung 12-year basic education, which is the K-12 curriculum. Ang sabi dito sa major subject. So, ito nga daw po ay hindi lang naman basta-basta, kumbaga, ini-implement. Siyempre, nagkaroon po ng iba't ibang recommendation nga yung katulad ng diniscuss ko kanina. So, dumaan sila dun sa ganong antagal since 1925 pa pala. Gusto nilang habaan yung taon ng pag-aaral ng mga student dito sa Philippines. So, yun. So, the next is the employability of Filipino high school graduates. The K-12 curriculum prepares the students for the world of work, middle level, skills development, entrepreneurship, and college education. So, the advantage nga po ng tapos tayo ng K-12 curriculum is yung mga student po natin na graduates ng K-12 is inaasahan na po pwede nang magtrabaho. Meron ng skills na atinan nila yung skills na kung ano yung basic skills na kailangan nilang ma-attain. Then, entrepreneurship. So, ready na yung mindset nila about sa business. So, and then, college education. So, ito yung ready na rin sa pagtahak ng college life, yung tapos ng K-12 curriculum. So, as early as grade 7 and 8, the student is made to explore at least 8 subjects in 4 areas of technology and livelihood education. So, sabi nga, sa grade 7 and 8, so parang sa ating grade 7 and 8 is high school po, di ba? The student, na-explore na nila yung about sa subject, 8 subjects in 4 areas of technology and livelihood education. When we say, di ba, dito sa technology and livelihood education, na pag-aaralan po dito is all about business. So, kaya siguro sinasabi na yung K-12 graduate is ready na for entrepreneurship once na sila ay nakagraduate na. So, next. So, ito na nga po yung 4 areas of technology and livelihood education, which is home economics. Ito na nga yung it's all about business, then ICT. So, dito parang ini-enhance na yung mga bata sa technology, kumbaga, kung paano gumamit, hands-on using technology, yung industrial arts, yung pagiging industrial arts, when we say industrial, yung pagiging malikhain ng mga bata. So, yung mga invention, siguro dito na pag-aaralan, then agriculture and fishery arts. Dito na pag-aaralan yung halimbawa, Philippines is well known for agricultural country. So, kailangan talaga na pag-aaralan ng mga batang kung paano ba palaguin yung likas na yaman na meron tayo dito sa Pilipinas, katulad ng pagsasaka, yun, fishery arts, yung pangingisda. So, Ang Pilipinas, ang parang natin, blessed natin na meron tayong dagat, meron tayong bundok, napakaganda ng ating mga likas na yaman, napakaganda. So, agriculture and fishery arts, yun, parang about doon sa pagpapanatili ng mga kabuhayan dito sa ating bansa. So, in grade 10 and 12, the students is supposed to have obtained a national certificate. So, level 1 and NC, level 2 from TESDA. So, NC1 and NC2 make a grade 12 graduate employable. So, yun nga po yung grade 10 and 12. So, inaasahan po ng pwede na silang magkaroon ng national certificate, yung tinatawag nga po nating NC1 and NC2. So, pag may ganun ka pong certificate, so, qualify po yung student or yung individual na kapagtrabaho na. Diba, yung iba nga nagsa-seminar lang po para lang makakuha ng NC1 and NC2. So, dito, pag-graduate ka daw in grade 10 and grade 12, pwede na magkaroon ang students na NC1 and NC2. So, the short duration of basic education in the Philippines resulted to 15-year-old graduates who are not legally employable. With the implementation of the K-12, the graduates of senior high is 18 years old who is legally employable. So, it means, dun sa short duration from our previous curriculum, which is 10-year basic education. So, yung mga graduates ng 10-year basic education is usually 15 years old lang. So, to be conferring to this K-12, yung mga graduate ng K-12 is 18 years old. So, parang legally employable na talaga sila. Kumbaga, ready na talaga silang makapagtrabaho kasi nasa right age na sila, nasa tamang edad na sila, 18 years old na. So, ang sinasabi dito, yun din ang advantage ng K-12 curriculum. Nasa legally employable na ang student pag graduate ka ng K-12. So, next. Ito na po pala yung last na napapasarap ang usap. So, thank you po. This is my, this is the topic that I report. Yan. Thank you very much.